Вітання усім.
Greetings to everybody. Let us start our work. Let us make sure that everybody has relevant language channel, because we have two languages today on our event and we have simultaneous translations.
Let's make sure that everybody has selected comfortable language channel, as we are having a bilingual webinar today and simultaneous interpreting will be provided. Отже, я вас попрошу, знайдіть, будь ласка, внизу праворуч.
So please, in the bottom of your screen, on the right, you can find the globe icon. Press the globe icon and select your channel, English or Russian or Ukrainian.
In the bottom of your screen and choose English or Ukrainian. Отже, я сподіваюся, що всі обрали.
I hope that now everybody has selected the language which is convenient for you. Dear panelists, dear participants, dear partners and friends, we are happy to meet you on the webinar presentation of the open platform of SDGs in Ukraine, organized by the State Statistics Service of Ukraine in partnership with UNDP program in Ukraine. This initiative is supported within the UN program to support strategic planning and funding of sustainable development of Ukraine, both on the national and regional levels, which is financed with the Common Fund of the Sustainable Development Goals. The importance of the SDGs in the Ukrainian agenda has been reflected in the relevant laws and regulations of the Ukrainian government, in particular by the President's order on the SDGs up to 2030 and other documents. This shows the relevance of looking for relevant tools to support efficient monitoring of SDGs progress. Creation of the national platform for reporting SDGs in the open platform format is, on the one hand, an important step in the digitalization of the national statistics on SDGs in order to accumulate and share data in a convenient way for everybody, for users and state services. This initiative in itself is a great example to support the goal number 17, Partnership for Sustainable Development. During today's webinar, we will find out about the history and benefits of the open platform for SDGs. We will present the Ukrainian indicators on SDGs on the platform, and we will look into the national platforms on SDG reporting in the countries of the European Economic Commission of the UN, in which Ukraine is a part. It's a big honor for me to give the floor to the coordinator of the UN system in Ukraine and the coordinator for humanitarian issues, Her Eminence, Ms. Osnap. Please, Your Eminence, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Olena. Good morning, Anatoly Kutsevol and Ihor Werner, our partners. I'm really delighted to join you today at the launch of the Open SDG platform in Ukraine, an open source reporting platform that will help to manage and publish data and statistics related to the sustainable development goals. It is important that it is centralized and an accessible source of SDG data. And I want to remind us all, only 8 years left to achieve the SDGs, and data is so important to know where we are, where we need to press forward. And this really bringing together the technology and the knowledge is so important to have reliable, disaggregated data and strengthened evidence that will tell us how to shape policies and have more effective planning, strategic planning. So just to say that the stakeholder engagement processes linked to SDG monitoring is more than just inputs to the national reporting. They're crucial as a whole of society effort, and gathering different actors to share how they can contribute and to the sustainable development is an important way, as Olena was saying on SDG 17, to create these new alliances, new partnerships. I really want to acknowledge all of the UN agencies, UNDP, UNECE, UNICEF, WHO, and others that have joined this effort. We are all together want to support Ukraine moving forward. We just finalized our UN common country analysis. And one of the central findings is that there's been significant improvement in official statistics and data collection, disaggregation by sex, age, and social identifiers, and analysis, but it's still needed to continue to improve and strengthen that to meaningfully monitoring SDG progress, including in particular for those to know the situation of the most vulnerable groups, and it should also contribute as we move forward towards conducting a national census in 2023 that will provide even more rich and accurate data. Ukraine, like many countries around the world, has been making good progress on implementation of the Agenda 2030. As was mentioned by Olena, following the President's decree 2 years ago, there's been a strong commitment to integrate SDGs into state policy that is now guided by 86 national targets and 183 monitoring indicators. And according to Ukraine's voluntary national review, during the first 5 years, the country has achieved progress in 15 out of the 17 SDGs. Of course, COVID has been a setback and hit hard on human development, on income, health, education. But despite these challenges, of the pandemic, Ukraine continues to prioritize SDGs at all levels of government. And for the United Nations, we are honored to support the government in this journey. It's really only when all stakeholders work together and that decisions made based on evidence and disaggregated data that we can achieve the SDGs, leaving no one behind. I really want to thank the long-standing partner of State Statistics Service of Ukraine for their leading role in development of Ukraine's version of the Open SDG platform that will provide updated information on SDG implementation in such a visual and user-friendly manner. And the system, which is hosted on a government domain, will enable gathering, disseminating, tracking of official national data, and more importantly, it will be public available to researchers, journalists, civil society who are interested in monitoring progress to achieve the SDGs. As a practical extension of SDG implementation, the government of Ukraine acknowledged SDGs as one of the key performance indicators for key institutions, and they are now, the SDGs are integrated into the results-based management tool. This system has a specific module that was developed to link national strategic priorities with SDGs. This is also a real significant achievement. We know that full realization of the vision of 2030 and its 17 global goals requires all of us, all of society approach and meaningful engagement of us all. And this SDG platform will help to make that possible. So again, I want to thank you all for the cooperation and contribution to achieving the SDGs, and I really wish you a very interesting and fruitful discussion today. Thank you.
Щиро дякуємо вам, ваша високодостойність. Велика дяка за всю вашу...
Thanks a lot to you, Your Eminence. Thank you for your support, for your partnership, which enables us to achieve such good results and implement the new approaches and tools. And now I'm happy to give the floor to our next honored speaker, Deputy State Secretary of the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine, Mr. Anatoly Kutsevol, who pays a lot of attention in his professional activities to the Sustainable Development Goals. Anatoly, Thanks a lot, Miss Elena. Greetings to everybody who is present today. I'm very happy that today we are conducting in the UN system in this year. This is the last event for me. I'm happy to greet Mr. Werner and Ms. Osnat Lubrani. I'm happy that we have gathered today to discuss the progress on the SDGs. This is more than important for me. I'm continuously repeating the message of the government. We need to improve our planning system. It has to correspond to the international examples, and we need to have the key progress indicators. And these are the SDGs for us. It is very important that this is a task for so many government agencies, including the State Statistics Service. And this gives us hope that we will improve our progress, and up to 2030, we will have good effects on the global agenda, on the SDGs. I'm looking forward that today the experts will share their developments and how we will be able to take into account the British experience in Ukraine. Jumping ahead, I would like to say that we are ready to integrate in all the ways the open source approach through the internal planning, the RPM, through the RPM. And starting from January, we would be glad to start working on the suggestions which would be presented by our experts. I would like to wish to everybody of us the sustainability in our activities. And as you, Ms. Osnat, I would like to say that our motto has to be, no one should be left behind for a long period of time. Thank you once again, and I wish everybody a good and fruitful discussion. Sincere thanks, Mr. Anatoly, for your greeting words, welcoming words. And now I'm giving the floor to the head of the State Statistics Service of Ukraine, Mr. Ihor Werner. Thank you, Olena Vasilyevna. First of all, I would like to greet everybody. Yesterday in Ukraine, we had one of the largest pre-New Year holidays. The day of St. Nicholas was yesterday, and I would like to wish everybody that I would like our meeting to continue this festive mood, this great mood of the holiday. So greetings to everybody for the yesterday's holiday and for the future holidays. I would like to express a great gratitude to Ms. Osnat Lubrani for the support that all the organizations, all the agencies which are under the umbrella of the UN, they have provided us with a lot of support. We have very good cooperation with UNDP in particular. In the previous year, we presented our progress monitoring on the SDGs. And today, I'm happy to tell you that on the platform, on our website, we used the methodology of UNSCAP. Thanks to UNDP, once again, they helped us to adapt the methodology. And now, we have the data available on monitoring the progress on the SDGs for the year 2021. So I'm inviting everybody to visit this page and to monitor our progress. I would like to thank to Anatoly Kutsevol for the support from the Secretariat of the government in this very important direction on the progress of SDGs. I would like to thank the Secretariat for the support. They are helping us to improve the indicators on the benchmarks and the goals on each SDG indicator. I would like to thank to all the technical personnel, technical experts who participated, and to the experts of the State Statistics Service, to Ms. Tatiana Tyszczuk, for all the technical experts who have made this event possible today, because without their help, we wouldn't have managed to resolve all the technical challenges. I would like to thank everybody once again for the common effort. Thanks to you, today we can present another step forward on our way of implementing the all-round services, so that more and more people would be able to join the monitoring of the progress on SDGs in Ukraine. I would like to personally say that the next year, I'm honored to invite you to a presentation to a new chapter of SDGs. This is the smartphone statistics. This would be a great continuation of our constant work in demonstrating our progress on SDGs. We have a program of state statistic reforms, and one of the tasks is to create a platform to monitor the progress on SDGs. I would like to thank everybody once again for all those who have made today's event possible. Thanks again. Greetings with the past and future holidays. I wish you a great discussion and a very interesting report by Ms. Tatiana Tyszczuk. Thank you. Thank you, Ihor Yevgenyevich. So the welcoming session is over, and we are proceeding to the reports by our panelists. I'm giving the floor to the representatives of the developer of the open platform on SDGs, Ms. William and Ms. Otis Baza, the deputy head of the sector for development of websites on the SDG data from the UK, of the Office of the Statistics of the UK.
But before doing this, for the sake of authenticity, I would like to also extend our great gratitude and appreciation to also Brock Fanning, to Ms. Anne Corp, and also to, as I have already mentioned, Lucy William and Otis Bath for all their continued support and partnership that appeared to be an extremely and immensely valuable asset to make this happen. Thank you so much, and welcome. Over to you.
Sorry, there you go. I was just finding the sharing screen button. So thank you, Olena, and thank you to the State Statistics Service for the invite today. It's been a pleasure working with you all so far and continue to do so in the future. Today we're going to talk about Open SDG, and specifically I'm going to talk about what Open SDG is, the principles that drive the development of it, and then I'll give a quick tour of the UK Open SDG platform to demo some of the functionality. Then I'll pass over to Otis, who's going to show you how the platform is being reused by other countries, obviously including Ukraine, and we'll run through how we support those countries. He'll then finish by running through some of the latest and upcoming developments of Open SDG. So how did Open SDG start? So in 2016, the US government launched an open source SDG platform based on code which was developed by the city of Philadelphia. Then in 2017, the UK Office for National Statistics took a copy of the US platform and added some new features such as support for disaggregations and maps. Then the UK joined forces with the US government and the Center for Open Data Enterprise, which is a US non-profit organization. And from this collaboration, the very first version of Open SDG was released in 2018. Following this, the significant version 1.00 was released in 2020, bringing a stable base of documentation and functionality. And there's been many increments since. So to ensure that Open SDG is fit for purpose, we follow 8 design principles which drive the development of the platform. So it's built using only open source tools and libraries. It's free to anyone to reuse and can be hosted using free services like GitHub. And then, as mentioned before, Open SDG was created through a collaborative effort between the UK, US government and Code. And now we even have the Open SDG community contributing. Platforms are fully customizable, meaning that any user can customize it to their needs. So add in visuals such as a national flag to configure in the metadata fields which are available, and even more dependent on how much resources available to the country or the region. Platforms can be created multilingually in either a language which already exists, which currently we have the 6 official UN languages and many more, including now Ukraine. It's interoperable, meaning that the countries can use multiple inputs or outputs. So rather than having to recreate all their data, they can choose the best option for them. And then when implementing changes, we focus on the user need to ensure that the end product is actually a benefit to the end users. And finally, it's accessible. So we develop it to be successful. We develop it to be accessible, and it is tested with various devices and assistive technologies. So now I'll move on to the tour of the UK SDG platform. Hopefully this will take us there. Yeah. So here we have the homepage of the UK Open SDG platform. On the homepage, you have some text which you can introduce the website on. This is customizable. A lot of the free text I'm going to be pointing at is customizable, just for your information. We have goals off, links off to each of the goals, which I'll go into in a second. We have an option to download all the data that's currently on the website, which can be quite useful for people who want to analyze the data by themselves. And then we've got links off to other resources such as publications and more information about the global goals and the SDGs. So I'll take us into one of the goal pages. On the goal pages, you can see the list of indicators broken down by target. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the reporting status of that particular indicator. So whether it's reported or not reported. I'll take us into 3A1 to give a demonstration of the indicator page. So at the indicator level, we have data available on chart and table, and then on some indicators, you also have a map. So chart, on the chart, you can add multiple disaggregation, so you can see how the data is different between different subcategories. So for example, here we can see the difference for this indicator between male and female. Similarly, if I go onto the table, you can see the exact same data there. Then the map just shows the headline data for the different regions of the UK. Then below the chart, we also provide the metadata so that our users know any important information about the data which we're showing. And that's on 3 different levels. So national metadata, so about our specific data, and then we've got the global metadata. And then we've got links off to the sources. I'll move on to some of the other pages. So we have the reporting status page. This gives an overview of how much data is available on the platform and how much isn't available. Some users of Open SDG have more subcategories, so maybe in progress or not applicable. And then we also have the disaggregation status page, which is very similar, but showing how many disaggregations are available for particular goals. And then on from that, we've got a couple of other pages which are quite standard. So we have an about page, just providing some information, a publications page, which just links off to some of our publications at ONS related to the SDGs. And then finally, we have updates, which is more of a blog page, just to share what we've been doing in the team. That brings us to the end of our tour of the UK platform. So I'll pass on to Otis now.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Lucy. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to talk to you about some of the other users that we have with Open SDG. So there are currently more than 30 countries or cities either using or developing a platform with Open SDG. And as you can see on the map, they are all over the world. Within this, we offer a range of support, and there are even a couple of examples of usage beyond the Sustainable Development Goals. Next slide, please. So here we can see how other countries have taken the software and gone in different directions with it to make their platform unique to their country. So Germany, on the left-hand side, you can see have implemented the reporting progress feature and are using these weather-based symbols you can see in the bottom left-hand side to evaluate their progress against a given indicator. On the right-hand side at the top, you can see Kyrgyzstan. They've used the tags feature to mark when an indicator is a national indicator. These aren't the recognized UN indicators, but can also help provide a really good picture against the target. In the middle, we have the Cantabria region in northern Spain. And this shows how, it can be translated into a non-official UN language, but also it can be completed for a region as opposed to a country. And then Iceland at the bottom have experimented with slightly different formatting. And again, I've translated out of one of the official UN languages, as has been done with the Ukrainian platform. Next slide, please. So in terms of receiving guidance on building a platform, we have created this playlist of YouTube videos that demonstrate how to get set up with a first platform and add some of the essential features and functionality that will be required to make it work effectively. And this continues to grow with recent videos on how to update your site to the latest version, how to automate triggered builds of the site, and also how to add the metadata report, all being added in recent weeks. Next slide, please. Elsewhere, we have the Open SDG documentation. And what this does is this provides the most comprehensive overview of running your platform. It includes written guidance on everything from setting up the platform initially to adding all kinds of customizable functionality, adding data and metadata, upgrading and automating. So this is really the one destination that you would go to if you want clear guidance on all your Open SDG queries and support. Next slide, please. So in terms of creating your first platform, the process has clear guidance in both video and written format. It can be completed in less than an hour and requires no technical expertise of the SDGs or of coding. Next slide, please. So here at the UK Office for National Statistics, we offer a range of support for countries wishing to set up their own platform. So for countries with the capacity and developer support, the written guidance and video tutorials are often enough to build an initial staging and production site and add some of the essential functionality. However, we also support some countries with less capacity, with less technical and developer support, where it might be necessary to help get the country up and running. We also continuously update our guidance and post new updates, features and fixes on GitHub. This is where we host discussions as well, where users can post ideas, questions and issues they have encountered, which we will then look to address. Next slide, please. So as I just said, we're constantly on the lookout to improve Open SDG as much as possible, with the recent 1.6.0 update introducing more features and functionality than we had previously. This includes the ability to configure reporting progress on the site and adds the metadata report. The next version, 1.7.0, will be arriving in the coming weeks and includes more customization for fonts, footers, tabs, and the ability to configure an error page as well. Next slide, please. So this has been quite a high-level tour of the work we are completing currently in relation to Open SDG. I would like to thank you for your time and thank you for letting us host today. I'll now open it up if anyone has any questions they would like to ask about Open SDG or the work we're completing alongside your colleagues. Thank you.
Щиро дякуємо вам, пані.
Cynthia, thanks to you, Miss Lucy and Mr. Otis, for your very informative, very interesting presentation. Thanks to you once again for all the time that you have dedicated for you and your team, for your efforts and for your support to create the open platform of SDGs in Ukraine. Dear participants, I would like to remind you that after all the panelists, we have a question and answer session. If you have any questions, please send your questions into the Zoom chat. If you are watching a video live stream, you can send your questions on the Facebook. Please be assured that we will be having a constructive and fruitful discussion. And now we are approaching the most interesting part of our event. We will be presenting the Ukrainian indicators on the open platform of SDGs. I would like to mention that our fruitful cooperation with the UNDP has brought us a lot of essential results, in particular in the sphere of SDGs. I mean the evaluation of progress using the economic and social methodology of the UN Commission for Asia and Pacific regions. In the summer, we have piloted this methodology on the subnational level. This was the first attempt to use this methodology on the level of regions. And today, we are welcoming the launch of the open data platform of SDGs in Ukraine. I'm very grateful to the UNDP team, in particular to Ms. Olena Ursul, Mr. Nazan Gron, and Ms. Tatiana Tishchuk, the UN consultant. I am giving the floor to her right now, and thank you for the fruitful cooperation and partnership. Ms. Tatiana, please. Sincere thanks, dear colleagues. Thank you, Olena, for introducing me. So now I would like to show you how to use the platform, how it will work and what it has, its features, and so on. The first thing which is important to note, this platform is bilingual. Can you see my demonstration? This platform is in both languages. It is in English and in Ukrainian. Together with the developers, with the platform developers who are present today, Lucy and Otis. So we have made it possible to add Ukrainian language. By default, the platform had the official UN languages, and also other countries which are joining the platform, they can also add their additional languages. The platform has a special feature of adding languages. So we have added the Ukrainian language. Now it is bilingual. Now I will be showing you the Ukrainian version. I will show you how you can use it. In Ukraine, as you know, the Sustainable Development Goals have been incorporated into the national legal framework. So, of course, not all indicators strictly correspond to the global ones, but most of our indicators have been adjusted to the Ukrainian needs and Ukrainian conditions. We have taken this into account when we were developing the platform. So here we have implemented our national indicators. For example, if I visit relevant chapters with the goals, you can see each indicator, you can see its dynamics since 2015. Because all the laws and regulations, they provide for data collection to increase starting from 2015. And therefore, we have adjusted this to show the data since 2015. For some indicators, we don't have data for every year, or we have data only for the recent year or for the recent 2 years. So maybe you will not be able to see some historical data for some of the indicators. This chart is interactive. You can select different options for the indicators. For example, here you can see the disaggregation by age or dynamics by age, if we have this possibility. And here we have the disaggregation by sex. This is what we can see here on the chart. For example, if we look at the age disaggregation, we can see more differences on the chart. And also, we can look at the types of households, like households with and without children. If you want, you can download the chart, and then you can use it in your reports, in your analytical materials. If it's convenient for your needs, so you can select the different features and download a diagram. For example, we can have a look at another indicator, overcoming of hunger. So this is what we have. We can disaggregate by Ukrainian regions. For example, we can see at the progress of Zaporizhia region and compare Zaporizhia and Odessa region to the national indicators. We can put it on the chart, we can download the information. You can use this chart in your report or in your analytical works. Also, on the platform, we have a chapter with metadata. For example, you can see the national metadata here. It is present. We have also the metadata in English, for example. But maybe if the State Statistics Service needs to do this, we can provide some additional metadata or expand it. Also, you can see the data as a table. For this, we need to select the necessary regions, and then we can download the data again. This is very user-friendly, very convenient. I would like to say that this platform is very convenient, very handy to update the information, to add the data for the subsequent years. The State Statistics Service intends to use it when they have the new data, so that the visitors and users can have the most recent data. And also, I would like to point your attention to another fact. We have this chapter on the status of reporting. Otis was showing this for the British system, and I will show you how it works in the Ukrainian platform. So you can see which data has been published for which indicators. So for almost all the indicators, the data has been published. I will be ready to answer your questions. I will look into the chart now. Sincere thanks, Ms. Tatiana. We will have the Q&A session a bit later. But right now, I am happy to invite Ms. Tina Luigi, head of the Environmental Statistics and Multisectoral Statistics of the Statistic Division of the European Economic Commission of the UN. She will be presenting the national platform of reporting of the countries of the European Commission of UN. We have a very fruitful cooperation with the Statistics Department of the UNECE. Thank you for joining, for contributing to our work and to our work. You have participated in almost all the webinars organized by our agencies. So please, Tina, the floor is yours.
So thank you and hello to everyone. And first of all, congratulations on setting up your national reporting platform on SDGs, because really a lot of work goes into that. So it's a big achievement. And also thank you for inviting me to speak at this important event. So the next slide, please. I wanted just to give you also a little bit background of from where this idea for those national reporting platforms came, and all this a little bit in addition to what Lucy already said. In UNECE, so UNECE, this is one of the 5 regional commissions of UN, we started actually working on the topic of measuring sustainable development already in 2006. When most of statistical offices did not yet deal with this, and we even had some indicators. But in 2015, then the General Assembly established the Sustainable Development Goals, and together with them, the 232 global SDG indicators were established. But then it was a big question, from where will the data come for all these indicators? Because some indicators already existed and they were produced by statistical offices or other agencies in national statistical systems. But some indicators were produced outside official statistics. Many indicators did not exist, and even the methodologies to compile them did not exist. And there are quite a number of indicators also which are not statistical indicators. And it was not clear who should coordinate all this work or how should this be done in countries to provide all this data. As we had dealt with this topic before, so we set up a steering group on statistics for SDGs in 2016. 17 countries are members of the steering group, and also the major international organizations who deal with this topic. In the beginning, this group was chaired by United States and Switzerland, but currently it's chaired by Poland and Sweden. And then this group started to look into those guidance materials and then started to think how to help countries to deal with this huge challenge to provide data for monitoring SDGs. As a result of that, we prepared a first edition of the roadmap on statistics for SDGs. So please click, you will see the, so it's not the next slide, but please just click for the next thing. No, just on the, because I have the cover of the publication there, but it's okay. It will come with the next clicks. And this 2017 version we have also in Russian and French and also in some other languages. But now, just this year, we finished the second edition of the roadmap. And this is now submitted to print. It's already available on the web, and we are hoping that it would come out in February, March next year, and then in time there will be also a Russian language version. So this roadmap, it gives guidance on how to deal with providing statistics for SDGs on things like national coordination. Our recommendation is that in countries, it should be the statistical office who is the coordinator of all this work. And in most countries, this is actually the case. But the roadmap speaks also about quality assurance, reporting on the global SDG indicators, how should the data move from country to the international organizations to then the global database, then tracking progress at various levels, at subnational, regional levels, even for cities, also at the thematic levels. Then how to disaggregate the data, provide data to leave no one behind, how to communicate all this, and what capacity development is needed. Next slide, please. So these are now the, please also the next. These are the covers of the publications, and now this is really the next slide. Yes, thank you. But the steering group looked also into other practical tools that can help countries to collect and disseminate SDG data. Because these 17 goals cover very different areas. And the data, even if it is available, is scattered around in many places. So the most efficient for users would be to find all this data in one place. And that's how this idea for the national reporting platforms was born, so that there would be a one-stop shop for data on SDG indicators. The first country, as Lucy said already, to develop this was the United States. And they did this on an open platform, so using open source software so that it would be usable and customizable also for other countries. And the platform is both for collecting data within a country from other agencies and then also for disseminating the data. Then the next one was United Kingdom, who customized this for their purposes, and in this process then acquired also a useful experience, so how to adjust this to country needs, so that from this now, as Lucy showed, it has been already transferred and adjusted and created this platform for many countries. We had a task force which also then developed a practical guide to national reporting platforms, how to decide whether to set up one, and when you start to set up, how to do it. And through our steering group, we have tried to promote this national reporting platforms a lot, so that this we can call really one of our success stories. In the UNEC region, now more than 40 countries have national reporting platforms in one or another form. So they are not always exactly like this Open SDG platform. Some are different. But these Open SDG platforms, according to our count, in UNEC region, we have 11 countries using this, with now Ukraine also, and about 5 in development. We can afterwards then check with this slide from Lucy whether we have the same list of countries who have the platform. And then the next slide, please. And this is, please click once more. So this is the first platform, how it looked like the United States one. That first you have this general page where you have all goals, and from there you can click on one and then you get the data. And it's also easily visible what is available and what is not available from the data. With later developments, this design inside and also in different countries is looking a bit different, but it's kind of following the same pattern. Please, next slide. So what are these advantages of the national reporting platforms? Why are they good? From international perspective and from a user perspective. So this is one place to find all SDG indicator data for a country. And they are easy to use because it's always the same or a very similar structure. It's coherent, easy to find different indicators. every time you get on this website, you already know where is what, how to click, where you find. It's really easy because if you look from an international organization viewpoint and you are trying to put together this SDG data for, like in UNEC region, we have 56 countries. But in the world, it's actually 195 or 96 countries. And you imagine that you have to go to the different websites of all these countries. And from some websites, it's really difficult to find this SDG data. And when you find it, then it's presented in a very different way. And you have to waste a lot of time just searching and trying to understand where is what and what is available. So in this sense, this Open SDG platform, the same structure, it's really a relief and really easy to use. It has all this metadata, sources, contacts for more information. So all this background information that you need to be able to really understand the data and to be able to judge its quality. And it is easy to see what is available and what is not available. It's also easy to develop it for a country. You don't need to reinvent the wheel or reinvent the bicycle. You just follow the structure and the approach how others have used it. So this technical side, as we have heard from countries to set it up, it's really quite quick and easy. More challenging, of course, is to fill it with data and to get all the data. A good side is also that it can be used to collect data from different agencies within a country, because as I said, the data in a country can come from very different places. And it promotes the country ownership of data. So on the national platform, this is the data which is produced by a country, which is not always the case when you look in international databases, because often the international organizations, the so-called custodian agencies who are responsible for different SDG indicators, they adjust country data. And it's a whole area of all kinds of problems with related to that, and to the fact that you can find, you may find different data for a country in the global databases and in the country's own sources. Next slide, please. So I have just a few notes or examples of other countries who have used the same approach in EC region with this Open SDG platform. For example, Armenia has done it in the same way and implemented with a consultant from code on the GitHub. It's adapted to Armenian needs, so it's translated this platform into Armenian and Russian. And they're also a clear way of making difference between the national indicators and global SDG indicators. The next slide, please. So this is now for Iceland. Also the same approach, developed in 4 months very quickly. Their challenge was to translate this into Icelandic and host it on their own platform. And now the next steps, they are looking into implementing national indicators and improving disaggregation. And next slide, please. So this is Kyrgyzstan, again, the same approach. They have also machine readable data, and they are using also this STMX feature to be able to transfer data from the platform to international databases, for example. And they have the platform available in 6 official UN languages. And then next slide, please. So there are more examples like that, but I will not go into detail on all of them. Just to say a few words, now when the platform is set up, what will happen further, and in a way also the big work is not all over, but there is a lot of work continuously. So of course the platform has to be maintained by adding new data and metadata. A big thing is also to fill the data gaps. When we looked at this Ukrainian national reporting platform, you have been in a way clever in this way that you present only the data which you have available. But when we would look into the global SDG indicators and the whole list of SDG indicators, then not all these data for all these indicators is available. So a future step would be also to try to fill more of these gaps and to have still more data on the platform. Then there is a need to think about the download possibilities, and that it would be easy, and there would be an automatic way to get the data from the platform to, for example, to those international organizations and to the global databases using automatic means like SDMX or API or something like that. Then always a challenge is how to present and how to make clear a difference between national and global indicators. I think on your side, there are mainly national indicators presented, but if we would like to add also some global indicators, then it has to be for the users very clear what is national, what is global. The national indicators are very, very important to track the progress at national level, because the national priorities, the national policies can be a bit different from the global ones, but the global indicators are important to be able to compare the country with other countries and to see how is the progress compared to others, and then to see the progress at the regional and global level. Then always the challenge is to clarify those, as I said, that often the data for a country in international databases and the data that country itself provides can be different. And there are quite valid reasons why these data are different. But in ideal case, they shouldn't be different. They should be the same. And so to clarify why the data are different, what are the reasons, how to overcome, what to do to bring this data more closer together is a huge work. And then, of course, very important is to promote the use of this platform and the use of this SDG data for decision making. One of our colleagues always used to say that only used statistics is useful statistics. And this is always a challenge to promote really its use, to increase the data literacy among the general public, among the policymakers, to also this national reporting platform. I think this is a very good resource to be used also in education, for statistics, for SDGs, by universities, by schools. So for this, it is really a very, very good source. So on this, I would like to end my presentation. So please click the next slide, which says, thank you for your attention. There is also my email address. If any questions or anything, you can always write to us and follow up. And I'm also open for if there are any questions or any comments, but definitely congratulations on launching your platform. And it comes at a very nice time at this just the end of the year, New Year, and all these festivities. So it's a very good occasion. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ms. Tina, for joining us today. We are very grateful to you for a very interesting, informative and saturated presentation on the roadmap on SDGs and different national practices in using platforms for reporting SDGs in the countries of the UNECE. Thank you for a very important tips and pieces of advice for the progress in the future on the possibilities of work with the Open SDG platform reporting in Ukraine. Dear colleagues, dear panelists and participants, so now our reports are over and we can proceed to the Q&A session. And we will start by the questions from the webinar participants when they were filling their Google forms. So the first question will probably be to Ms. Tina. What are the tendencies on the country monitoring on the SDGs? What are the latest trends and tendencies on monitoring SDGs in different countries?
You mean the trends really in trying to measure the progress? One big thing is that for all countries, providing the data is still a challenge. The global SDG indicators, when they were introduced in 2015, then there was actually 1/3 of the indicators were such for which did not exist and for which the methodology was missing. By now, all these methodologies have been developed, but not all data is still not available. But also a big thing that all countries are working now is to provide more disaggregated data. This focus on leaving no one behind is really very, very strong and very important. But it is also very challenging because there are all kinds of vulnerable groups. When looking at these disaggregations that are already required in the global targets and indicators, there are a lot of them. But in addition, there might be also national specific groups you have to pay attention to. So to be able to collect and get to all this data and find this data from somewhere is really a huge challenge. And it's a lot of work and it's expensive. Because if you need to run surveys, you need much bigger survey samples to be able to get the data, reliable data on those small groups. Then it can be difficult even to access this data. And when we speak about vulnerable groups, sometimes those vulnerable groups are kind of hidden. You have to first know who they are to try to reach them. But if you don't have data, then you also don't know who they are. So it is difficult. Use of the so-called big data. So that means use of data from outside official statistics, also privately held data, is very often now considered, but it has its own big, a lot of challenges, of which one important one is even access to data, because a lot of this big data is privately held and statistical offices don't have access to that. So these are, yeah, maybe, but this is probably a thing that I could speak about for a long time. But yes, filling the data gaps, leaving no one behind, and getting access to all kinds of different sources of data, maybe 3 big things there.
Thanks a lot, Ms. Tina, for this extensive question. Next question is to Mr. Otis and Ms. Lucy. What are the advantages of this platform over the other platforms? What is the advantage of this platform over the other platforms?
I can take this one. That's okay with this?
Yes,
okay.
Please go ahead.
So one of the big advantages over some of the other platforms that are available is that it is completely free. There's kind of no hidden costs. It's also free to host. So again, there's no cost there. And the support that is provided is, again, it's free. And not only that, it's open, so anyone can kind of go in there and self-serve. And we do try to make the documentation as accessible as possible by making it, well, trying to make it possible for non-technical users to be able to set up a platform, update their platform, add new metadata, data. And again, some of the other things I mentioned in the principles slide earlier on about making sure that we're carrying out user testing and user research to ensure that the platform is doing what it's supposed to do. And then I think the final thing I'll mention is the fact that it's specific to SDGs. The SDGs are a very complex framework with the 3 different levels, and well, as it is specific to that, it means we can deal with that complex framework.
I mean, I would completely echo everything that Lucy has said there, and I think as well the open source nature of it and the collaborative nature of it allows us to not only work collaboratively on things, but then also it gives us the opportunity to implement suggestions that are put in. So say there are things that you're finding specifically difficult with your platform, or there's functionality that you would like to see introduced to your platform. Okay, it's not always directly possible, but there's definitely really good avenues where we can work collaboratively to try and implement some of these features and take suggestions on board and work on them to bring them to your platform as well.
Thank you, Lucius. Thank you, Otis. Tina, anything to add on your part concerning this question, answering to this question concerning advantages?
In general, as I said, if the platform is set up using this open source and following the same structure, this is already a big advantage over all others who don't use this, because also from user perspective, it's so much easy to use.
Thank you very much. Наступне запитання,
The next question, or a number of questions united into one, is to Mr. Igor Werner. We have had a lot of questions about the feedback on the platform and the possibility to start a dialogue. So how will the feedback function work? Who will be specifically responsible for feedback? And do you plan some form of dialogue on the platform? Or the goal is only to inform the users? Thank you. Thank you, Olena. Thank you for the colleagues it is a very important question. The State Statistics Service of Ukraine, together with all the partners who have been participating in the development of this project, they had one of the main aims not only to demonstrate the monitoring of the SDG progress, but one of our goals was to get the feedback, among other things. In fact, today, I would like to show you my screen now. Look, on our website, this is what you can find. So we have a chapter dedicated to the SDGs, and here you can see National Reporting Platform on SDGs, SDG Open Platform. I would like to remind you that here we have the evaluation of progress of SDGs in Ukraine. We have published the data for 2020 and 2021, and this is our national platform of reporting. So in the bottom, you can see here in the bottom, we have Facebook and Twitter. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, just a second. As you can see, we have the contact us contact us chapter. Unfortunately, this chapter is under construction, but later you will be able to use this feedback form in a short time. This is the first. So we have the same chapter on Twitter, on Facebook. You can write us on Twitter and on Facebook. It is still in the development. Also, we have a frequently asked question chapters. They will be ready to use in a very short time. But as I understand, you have been talking about the possibility to have interactive communication, for example, in the chat. Maybe I will be asking our colleagues to help here from the United Kingdom, maybe Lucy or Otis, maybe you will be able to tell us whether you plan to use such a tool as chat function to quickly respond to the questions of our users. For example, if some of the users are interested in getting some information on SDGs. Thank you. So Otis, please. Lucy.
Sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
Hi. So no, that isn't something we've considered to date. Up until now, we haven't heard of a user need for that functionality. So similarly, most countries do just provide their email address so that someone can contact them that way.
Дуже дякуємо вам за відповідь, пані Люсі. А ми переходимо до наступного запитання.
Lucy, thanks a lot for the answer. The next question is also to you.
I will switch to English. So how many employees are involved in administering the platform? And how is control and data quality analysis provided?
Yeah, that's happy to answer this one. So thank you, Natalia, for your question. So within the UK Office for National Statistics, we have a team of 5 who work directly on the platform, and then there are a number of others who work collaboratively on it. So there's myself, Lucy, and 3 others who work directly on the platform. But then we have a contracted user researcher and an external developer, Brock, who has both Tatiana and Elena have met and worked alongside Brock. He's been incredibly helpful in providing expertise on the Ukraine platform as well. And then in terms of data control and analysis, within our Sustainable Development Goals team, so we have the 5, as I say, on the platform, but there's a further 12 who work in the UK data team. So they source, update, disaggregate the data that we have, and they're responsible for ensuring that the data that is being uploaded onto our platform meets strict criteria for quality, ensure that it's from a reputable source and fits the indicator it is being used against. So as Tina was saying, data comes from lots of different agencies, so it's important that it's all consistent and works effectively on our platform and is relevant to the indicator that it's being updated for. So yes, I hope that helps answer your question.
Дуже дякую, пане Отісе. У нас запитання до пані.
Thanks a lot, Otis. And also a question to Ms. Tatiana Tishchuk and Mr. Igor Werner. This is to you. What Ukrainian indicators of progress on SDG will be available on the open platform, and what possibilities for Ukraine? What advantages will the platform give to Ukraine? Right now, the platform has all the indicators that are being collected by the government agencies. The list of indicators has been determined by the government order. We have a clear list of the data types that are used as indicators. Therefore, in the platform, we show what we have, what has been determined. So all the indicators that have been determined for Ukraine in the government regulation and for which we have available data, they are being demonstrated on the platform. I mean the national list of indicators. In fact, when we have colleagues from international organizations, they also ask about the global indicators, because not all the national indicators correspond to the global ones. So on the platform, we will have the national indicators. Thank you. I would like to add, on the platform, we have the national report on Ukraine and SDGs. And according to the report, we have 183 indicators. As Ms. Tatiana said, they have been determined by the regulation of the government on the monitoring of SDGs progress. From my own part, I would like to add what is the advantage of publishing data on the open platform. In fact, this is a very important and big step. Ms. Tina Luigi mentioned today during her report that this is a place where you don't have to visit different websites. You can have one-stop shop to see the information on the SDGs. I will share my screen. Hope you can see. If you visit the platform Open SDG, this page, you can see the chapter who is using it, who is using the platform. And here you can see the list of countries which are already using the platform, the Open SDG platform, in order to publish their data for monitoring the SDG progress. Ukraine is also here with its own link. So for us, this is a very important step forward, because the entire community which knows about the existence of the platform, the entire community can look at the information, look at Ukraine's progress on the SDGs in a one-stop shop. And I believe that this is a very important and useful progress for Ukraine. I would like to thank once again to our partners, to Mr. Otis, to Ms. Lucy, Ms. Osnap, Ms. Tina Luigi, Ms. Tatiana. I would like to thank to everybody who has contributed in this work to help Ukraine appear on this platform. Thank you. Thank you, Yuri. So, dear participants, we had a number of questions about the access to the open platform. Once again, so we have the link sdg.ukrstat.gov.ua. You can visit the website of the State Statistics Service of Ukraine. You can find the chapter of SDGs. Then you go to the national platform of reporting on SDGs, and then you can use it as you like it, as is more convenient for you. Very interesting question. Unfortunately, Anatoly had to leave us. So the question is, today, is there an objective metrics which would allow to assess whether the data is, SDG data is really used in decision-making, in making decisions on development? Mr. Nazar Grom, as a representative of the program, of the national UN program, which works in this direction, maybe Mr. Nazar could share with us about, tell us about your project initiatives or developments. Thank you, Ms. Olena. Mr. Anatoly, in the opening remarks, he touched upon this topic. The government has approved the result-based management system upon the recommendations of the UNDP with the help of different partners and donor organizations. A separate module has been developed in the monitoring system about the progress on the SDGs and focusing on some of our programs on the analysis of the progress impact. How does it have necessary funding? The government uses the SDGs as benchmarks, and Mr. Anatoly presented, he said that we had a government plan on the SDGs. We will have sort of key performance indicators for each ministry. Each ministry would be reporting for their own indicators, for their own progress. So this platform allows us to connect SDGs, take into account the necessary funding, the necessary performance by the government, and it will allow the government to work on the evidence and develop the policies based on the progress in the SDGs. And also the citizens, ordinary citizens, will be able to access the platform and to see whether the government work corresponds to the SDGs and whether the government is following the way. I would like to also add that our colleagues from the economy ministry, in particular, one of their departments, did an enormous work to analyze all the programs, all the documents, whether they strategically take into account the Sustainable Development Goals. You can visit the economy ministry website and see this information. I think the report is very useful. Thanks again to the economy ministry for doing this very important work. Thank you. Next question is to the developers. Does the platform allow to compare the data from different countries? For example, the spread of diabetes or other diseases, for example, the incidence of different diseases. Can you trace it on your platform to compare different countries?
So thank you for the question. Currently, there is no functionality on Open SDG to be able to compare across countries. That is something which has come up a little bit in the user research, but at the moment there hasn't been a solid user need. And not only that, there are other avenues in which you can compare that data. So for example, through the global platform, and then also through regional platforms, which I'm not sure if Tina may want to add something on.
I can just confirm what Lucy said, that yes, to compare countries, then it's better to go to the global database, which is maintained by UNSD, and in this global database there the data should be comparable between countries. That means that because sometimes when countries collect the data, they might use a little bit also different definitions or different ways, or then these international organizations, they try to harmonize all the data, and this is what is presented in global databases is comparable. That might be also one of the reasons why then the global data and countries' own national data may differ.
Thank you very much, Tina. Could you please send the link to this global database for convenience for our participants?
Yes,
to have a look?
I will put it into the chat, yes.
Thank you very much. Отже, наступне запитання.
So the next question is to Igor, Mr. Igor Evgenievich. when the SDG monitoring will be implemented for the regions and communities in the country? Do you plan to combine the local level SDGs for the ISO 37120? When do you plan to automate the publishing of SDGs, which are, for which the data is kept in the electronic registers? Thank you. So when the monitoring of SDGs will be in the regions of the country and communities, who is processing the indicators? As far as I remember, there were several attempts to define or to determine the localization of the SDGs at the level of territorial communities. A lot of work has been done, and so it was done by the UNDP and by the Economy Ministry, and the State Statistics Service was also involved. We worked with the regional administrations. We have a lot of attempts to make localization, but unfortunately, today we don't have a regulatory framework. We don't have any resolution of the government which would localize, which would allow us to localize the SDGs on the level of regions in Ukraine. We have the regional scale of the national report. Do you plan to combine indicators? Do you plan to combine indicators, SDG indicators for regions, with the quality standards? So if those officials who work on the localizations in the region, if the state officials will make such a decision, they will be combined. When do you plan to automate publication of indicators for which the data is stored in the electronic registers of Ukraine? I would like to mention one thing. We have 183 indicators which are collected to monitor the progress on the SDGs. So if you look at the 183 indicators, you can look at our website. We have the regulations and bylaws on our website. So there we have a list of the indicators and a list of responsible stakeholders with the time frames, with the deadlines for giving the information, independently of whether it is stored in the electronic registers or not. So the answer is that we are getting the data directly from the data sources. They can get their information either by themselves or from the registers. Well, for each indicator, we have a methodology. So you can look at the methodology which tells you how the data is collected. Those methodologies for each indicators are published on our website. It contains information about the indicators and the metadata. I hope I was able to answer. Thank you, Yuri Evgenievich. We have another question to our experts from the UK. Did your country take into account during the census the questions oriented at the progress to the SDGs? If yes, could you share your experience with the Ukrainian community? Because we have started our work in this direction.
Okay, I'm happy to answer this one. Quite simply on this one, I'm not sure about whether our most recent census incorporates SDG-related questions and data. So we, in the UK, our most recent census was 2021 this year. So that will be published next year. And I'm sure within the SDG team, we can use some of this data However, up to this point, I'm not aware of any incidences of the census data being utilized on our SDG reporting. However, if this is something you're interested in, this is something that we'll be able to respond to your colleagues developing the platform on and explore how this could be made possible.
Так, Ігор Євгенович, дуже дякуємо вам, Отіса.
Thanks a lot, Otis. Yes, Igor.
Безумовно, там...
I would like to add, dear colleagues, for example, if an indicator has a dimension on 100,000 population, the census will impact the SDG because the census will show us the availability or constant availability of the population in Ukraine. So here we will see some impact of the census on the SDG. When we do the calculations, the translation into 100,000 of population, or if we do some similar calculations for the indicators. Thank you once again. Another important question about the platform. Will there be a possibility on the platform to trace or to look at the reporting on the SDG according to the GRI standards, which is prepared by the companies? This is a question to all the panelists. I'm sure, for example, if we have some changes, if the government makes some changes in the list of indicators that we have to monitor regarding the SDGs, then the State Statistics Service will be tracing them. And at that moment, we will implement it in the platform. So the question was about the GRI standards that are already used by some companies, whether they will be used in the SDGs monitoring. Another question, do you have any approaches on measuring the impact of science on the SDGs where the innovative technologies are used? I will try to give an answer to this question. In fact, the monitoring and the platform of monitoring SDGs aims to measure certain indicators. Each indicator has a more methodology, which is described in the metadata. But the question is a bit wider. So it requires additional research. Right now, we are providing the data, and the data has been collected according to the methodology. It has been collected by the State Statistics Service of Ukraine or by another government agency, central government agency, which is responsible for collecting this information. So I hope I was able to answer the question. Thank you, Igor. In fact, a similar question about the nature, regarding the nature of the response. Thank you to the service. So the educational ombudsperson thanks us for a very useful tool. So the question is, a number of educational establishments in the countryside which has access to the internet is 98.8%. So these are the schools connected to the internet. But here we need to understand not only the quantity, but also the quality. For example, the Digital Ministry of Ukraine has developed an interactive map. on the quality of internet connection. For example, access to the optical lines. So simply the internet access does not allow you to evaluate the quality. So the share of educational establishments in the countrysides is very small, where the data is used. So do you plan to upload the high quality data to the platform? I will try to answer this. So the first part is about the situation, about the current situation. As far as I know, the Ministry of Digital Transformation and the minister, they are putting as much efforts as possible to connect all the schools, all the educational establishments to the high-speed internet. As for the data that we have on the platform today regarding the school access to the internet, this data is coming from the administrative units, from the Ministry of Education and Science. The ministry is providing this data to us according to the regulations. So the question that you have raised needs more disaggregation of those indicators. So, for example, we need to know not only whether the internet connection exists, but we also need to know about the internet speed of the internet in different schools. So we can initiate this discussion with the Education Ministry, because the Ministry of Education is collecting the data and giving us the data. If they make a relevant decision to extend the indicators, we can add this information to the regulation of the government. So we can include this new indicator in the list, the timeframes for its provision, and then the statistics service. So if we will receive the information, if we receive this indicator, we will start publishing it on the open platform and in all of our publications that we have, thanks to our partners regarding the monitoring of SDGs. I hope I was able to answer. Thank you, Igor. Also, a big thanks to all the panelists for provision of the exhaustive, complex answers, very informative answers to the questions. As we can see, we had a very lively discussion. And this is good because the society, the experts, the academia, the research circles are interested in the new technologies which allow us to monitor the SDGs progress in Ukraine. But today's event, today's launch of the platform, of the open platform in Ukraine, is a great example of how an efficient and fruitful partnership should work. In each, all the participants, all the stakeholders are involved in the process, in which all the stakeholders are working in synergy and paying as much effort as possible. This is a great example of teamwork. A sincere thanks for staying with us today. Greetings with the future holidays, and we will stay in touch in our common effort and aspirations to move only forward. I wish you new progress, new achievements, and I wish everybody a good day.